All right. I hit the record button. We can get going after I get the intro done. All right. Get ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
You ready? Okay, cool. Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well. We are here for a taped exclusive interview with the one and only Miss PinkPantheress. The new tape, To Hell With It, is out now. We're going to be talking about that and anything else that comes up in the conversation. Off the bat, how have you been feeling about, even though a lot of the songs from this thing have been out already, how have you been feeling about like the reaction to the tape so far now that it's fully out and everybody's kind of just taking it all in?
The reaction's been, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, before I released it, I was quite worried that people were going to basically be like, well, we've heard all of these before, so what is this? But yeah, it's been really good, actually. I try to stay off of the internet as much as I can, but from just reactions of people in real life as well, like my friends, my family, and then people online, it seems to be kind of a nice combined reaction of, oh, this is good, and I'm like, okay, thank you. I never know how to take compliments or anything, so yeah. But I think it's been nice.
No, I mean, I think it's definitely something to have, you know, those very popular single tracks that you have kind of floating out there on the internet. But now that those tracks and a little bit extra is out now on this tape, I think it does make kind of a sonic statement, and it sort of paints a picture of where you are aesthetically and stylistically. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, and yeah, I think so. I feel like I could leave them out and kind of just create 5 original tracks and kind of just have them as new releases. But I feel like I keep forgetting there's actually a lot of people that haven't heard my music already. So to some people, this project will be a whole new tape. Like some people haven't heard Pain, some people haven't heard any of the songs yet. So I think for people that haven't listened to any of my stuff before, I think it's nice to include the single.
Yeah, and again, I think like in terms of the types of instrumentals that you gravitate toward, I mean, there's been a lot of conversation about, you know, drum and bass and garage and the influence that that brings to your music, but sort of the spacious approach that you take to that sonically and your vocal style, I think the tape kind of encapsulates, like, at least for right now, what is like the PinkPantheress sound.
Yeah, no, well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So, you know, with the completion and release of this tape and, you know, your tracks kind of getting I guess the momentum that they have, like, is this project coming out almost like a bit of a marker for you? Like, you know, when it comes to recording and writing and collaborating with, you know, different producers, are you going to start, I guess, I don't know, building upon what you've learned so far or taking a different approach to what you do? You know, did you put all this stuff out to say, okay, you know, this is sort of like the phase that I'm in now, and now I'm going to be kind of, you know, building up from here as I continue forward?
Literally, you've nailed it. Essentially what it was for me, I was like, I'm sitting on a lot of these tracks right now, and luckily timing, like this whole project started this year. This whole project started in January.
Right.
And in my head, I was like, I think it would be nice before the end of this year to kind of just have a body of work out, to kind of have like all the songs that I've got as singles, and then all of the songs that are on SoundCloud that people want out. I think it's just going to be nice to put them all in one kind of body of work, so that people can kind of, I guess as like a hallmark, like this is the phase that I'm in this year. Like, I think a lot of people now see me as a bit of like the go-to drum and bass. Sorry, not the go-to, but like some people see me as a drum and bass, like, you know, like I use a lot of drum and bass in jungle, so therefore I'm like what some people would call, not me at all, but what some people might call a jungle artist, or they'll associate it with me directly. Whereas, as much as I love drum and bass and jungle, is definitely not the sonic space that I want to be in for the whole of my career. So essentially, I guess it's nice for me to kind of be in this phase right now, but next year I kind of want to work towards different type of sounds, still with, like, as I see it, I want to have fingers in like a few pies, not just some of the more quicker tempo and heavier stuff. I actually want to get into more, like, I guess, like slower songs, more guitar songs, more like even some R&B. Like I slightly tried to get into my R&B bag with All My Friends Know, which is on the project. But I want to do way more. So yeah, I guess you kind of nailed it. Yeah. It's kind of a bit of a phase, I guess. Yeah.
In a lot of conversations, you also talk about not just the drum and bass and dance and garage influences, but also the trends and styles within your music that are quintessentially like British. Do you do you predict seeing that as continuing to be a major influence on a lot of the sounds that you push forward with, or do you even see yourself kind of expanding beyond that with the stuff that you continue to record from here?
This is the thing. I feel like as a nation, we kind of went through this kind of really cool moment in like 2000, like in not early 2000s, but more like mid 2006 to like 2010, where we had artists like Example, we had artists like Lily Allen, we had Jamie T, we had Just Jack, and these are artists that kind of curated, I think Mark Ronson called them, I don't know what he called them, like Thamesby or something, like a group of artists that kind of had this like really sick alternative, really cool but not mainstream kind of pop, kind of rap even kind of sound. And and I'm not saying we lost it at all, but it definitely isn't like there aren't many artists doing it anymore that are from the UK. Like all of those artists are still making their stuff. KEB, for example, still making music. Kate Nash is still making music, and she's a massive part of that era. But in terms of like the fresher musicians being churned out, it's like I feel like we're not seeing it as much. And even you haven't even seen it from me yet, because I am still trying to kind of find my way there. I haven't fully found my way into that bag quite yet, but I'm really trying to kind of get there by kind of staying true to a lot of these artists and like what it was about back then, and then also just kind of trying to put my own twist on it and make it appeal to the audience that we have today. I think that it's it was just a great era of music which we kind of almost let slip past us a little too quick. So to answer your question, yeah, I guess so. I think I would like to kind of take it further than I have already.
And in terms of like continuing to progress your sound, like where do you see things going, I guess, like aesthetically or commercially, or what are your aspirations in regards to that? Because with you kind of originating in that TikTok space and recording and writing tracks so prolifically in a very DIY fashion, considering how your music has spread, like you're really punching above your weight, in a way that's complimentary and amazing. But do you see yourself at one point, even though this is maybe not a scenario that you're used to 100% yet, recording in big studios, working with the most high in demand producers, and like trying to write like, anthems, huge hits, try to climb up the Billboard charts? Or, is your heart more devoted to that DIY space?
I think, I definitely think, I haven't really put too much thought to it. I think, I don't know. I think I've kind of always wanted to not just have, I don't know how to really, as in like, I think there's a clear difference between having a moment than having something more of a career.
Yeah.
I think there are certain things you have to do in order to, per se, have a career. I think that some people have moments, some people have careers. I think for me, there was a strong possibility, and there still is a possibility, that this is all a moment. Like, okay, she's put out this song, she put out this project, it was a moment. Next year, it's like, I think if I play my cards right, you can have both. It's very possible to kind of have both the DIY concept whilst also having these DIY concepts in the charts higher than like a lot of these artists that are working in these big studios.
Sure.
That being said, I'm not, I'm in my lane right now, which is kind of, I guess, if this is left, this is right, I guess you could consider me more in this more left field. But that's not me necessarily saying I want to shun this out. Like, this isn't me being like, I think for me, I think it's obvious, one, that I like to kind of keep things quite hidden and behind, under wraps. Like, I don't really like showing my face at all very often. Right. But I'm a big fan of writing. And I think that even if I wasn't the artist, I would still love to be writing some of these anthems that you're referring to, or being somewhat involved in them. But yeah, we'll see. Time will only tell.
Yeah.
Time will only tell.
No, I mean, considering what you just said, that's partially why I greatly, appreciate you coming on to have this conversation, because of just sort of the elusiveness that you've presented yourself with thus far, which is why, I'm trying to get a grip of, where for you, the music thing and aspirations with that sit right now, because I imagine even with it being as successful as it is right now, you're still trying to balance the normal obligations of your average young 20-something who's, probably wanting to get an education and is still, very attached to her family. And with all of that, like, how is trying to find a synthesis between all that working out so far?
Worked out really well. I'm not going to lie to you. I think before I did all of this, I kind of was just like, right, you can let yourself not to sound cliche, but you can kind of let it all take control, or you can kind of just act like it's not happening and kind of just try and live your normal life. And essentially I went with the latter because I was like, it's just simpler for me, and then it's also simpler for my lifestyle. My lifestyle it doesn't matter what's going on online. It's like my real life really hasn't changed. I'm literally living in London with like 5 of my really close friends. We've known each other for years and years. I'm still at uni somewhat. Stuff has definitely changed, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm meeting a lot of very cool people and I'm doing a lot of very cool stuff. But in terms of like, am I being jetted off to such and such? Am I doing this? Am I riding around in this? It's like, no, it's like, I'm literally not even, this isn't even a humble, one of those like, let me take a moment to be really humble. It's like genuine. This is my genuine truth. Like, I'm very much the same person I was when I started. But it's been nice. I think if there's one thing that's changed, it's my knowledge of everything has changed. Of people, of music, of literally everything. So that is, and knowledge is priceless. It's priceless. So only a good thing. No,
I mean, what you're saying.
Yeah, it's been easy.
What you're saying so far, I mean, I'm glad to hear that, because, it just sort of seems like, there's, and this was an issue with, my generation as well, but, and maybe it's not so much an issue. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this correctly, but, there definitely is like a lack of skepticism among people when it comes to like giving your everything to the world through the internet and through social media, you know what I mean? And even with your tracks kind of popping off in the way that you have, in the way that they have, you still personally seem to value a certain amount of distance between yourself and, the crowd and the internet and, the digital limelight in a way.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's just, to put it plainly, it's just, I know the internet too well. I'm not saying I know everyone really well, but I know the internet very well. I've been on the internet for a long, long time. And I know what people appreciate, what they don't appreciate. I can work my way around it quite well. I don't know. I think I'm quite savvy. And in that regard, I just have to play a bit safe. And I think some things you don't have to post. Not saying no one has, I just don't have to post it, you know what I'm trying to say. And in that respect, it makes it easier for me because, yeah, it means I don't have to, I'm quite a nervous person, I'm quite shy, and I think, yeah, I just think it's just all in all just a better experience overall. And a lot of people have told me, not saying I'm doing things the right way, I think there are some moves that if I would have made, it would have been probably really super beneficial and it would have been cool. But there have been people coming up to me saying, you know what, I've been doing music for X amount of years and I wish I did what you did, and I kind of just didn't give all away too much at once, or I didn't give anything at all, just because it would have made things a lot smoother and easier. And I'm just like, well, thank God for that. Thank my lucky stars, because, yeah, I don't know. It's not anything I'd want to go through, to kind of feel like people have invaded my privacy or personal space. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and especially like with all these recent, Facebook revelations, for example, I think it becomes clearer and clearer how various social media platforms just kind of just, exploit, I guess, you know, the naivete of your average person who just wants to jump on there to have fun or whatever. And then before you know it, maybe like, you know, some video that they've made is being hate mobbed. And at the end of the day, that's just a profit for whatever platform they're sort of on at the end of the day. And I appreciate and, you know, love the fact that you're saying that this kind of shyness that you're talking about has made you wise to that. But simultaneously in your line of work, I'm sure to a degree, like you need to overcome that shyness, come out of your shell a bit in order to accomplish what you want to accomplish, you know, either putting your stuff out there or working with different producers, being in a different studio setting, that sort of thing. And, you know, what has that process been like so far? Having to maybe push yourself at certain moments to maybe overcome those points of hesitation that you might naturally be feeling, but you know you have to kind of move past it to get done what you want to do.
I think, yeah, those are moments. Actually, funny enough, at the moment, I'm not. I wouldn't say I was struggling in any sense, but I'd say it's been something I've had to learn, like as in not gradually learn, but learn very much abruptly all at once. Essentially, had to have it drilled in real quick because, yeah, there were moments where I was like, yeah, I can just get away with saying, no, I don't want this picture out of me. I don't want this out of me. I don't want to do this. But there are people saying, no, you do because you did this. No, you do need to do that because you signed this. No, you do. And I'm like, yo, this is all a bit mad. But then I guess, as I said before, these things don't have to be bad problems. There are times 100% where they're bad problems, where it's like, I don't want this out there, but it's out there now and I can't do anything about it. And it makes me very sad that it's out there. I haven't had that yet, but I can imagine that being a bad problem. But a good problem, for example, is maybe, I think as a 20-year-old, I think sometimes being told you've done this, these are the consequences. I think that is a great thing to learn at 20 years old. It's better now than at any other age, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, what you say makes me think about, you know, kind of what your creative process was earlier on before you really had like a growing audience, and how, you know, you were recording and releasing things that you were putting together pretty prolifically. And, you know, now that there are so many eyes on you and on that process, does that give you, you know, more pause when it comes to what to release and how to edit yourself? Because, you know, for somebody who, you know, you say like this just started this year, this has been kind of growing just since, you know, just so many months ago. You have come across as being very careful in terms of what you want to officially release. You know, it seems like you take a lot of care into, this is what I'm going to formally put out, and I'm not just going to throw out whatever thing that, you know, I'm putting together. So, you know, what is that editing process like? And, you know, kind of what's going through your mind when you're finally deciding this is proper to release or this isn't?
A few things. I mean, well, one thing is always, is the song good enough? I mean, that's obvious, but like, yeah. I honestly think there have definitely been points where I've overlooked that. And I've been like, wait a minute, why was I ever thinking of putting out that's hot garbage? But essentially what I'm trying to say is, you just kind of, for me anyway, I feel like it boils down to one, okay, is it good enough? Two, what am I singing about? What am I writing about? Three, how does it fit in context of what I'm doing right now? Four, has it got a sample in it? And I know that last one's a bit on the nose, but at the same time it's not, because in the past samples haven't been too fun for me. Obviously there's no one to blame but myself, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, a lot of my songs previously, when I first started out, used samples. Yeah. So now these days it's like, I don't want to continue with the whole sample. I want to actually create original like music now, and I have the ability to do that because I'm working with people that can do that, whereas me myself, I'm not a good enough producer to do it myself. Whereas now it's like I've got the facilities to do it. So do I really need a sample in this track? Do I really need to do that, or can I just create an original one? That's also something that comes into my head when I'm thinking, should I release this? I Must Apologize, I was like, this beat is so good, but it uses a sample in it. So I was like, I don't know if I want to release it, because I don't want people to think, oh, this is just something she constantly does. In the end, I decided, I felt like it was a strong enough track to kind of put out in it, and I liked it enough. But yeah, it wasn't something that I was like, yeah, I want to release it. It's got a sample in it. Yeah, I'm just gonna put it out. It was something like I was like, I genuinely don't want to put it out because it has a sample in it. But I just ended up doing it. I just liked it too much.
Just to clarify, is this you know, because for artists, it's sort of, for different artists, it's different concerns. I mean, you know, when you're talking about sampling now, is that something that you're hesitant to do? Because obviously, you know, it's all fun and games when you're sampling and you're an independent artist and nobody's like watching you, you know what I mean? But when you're like, you know, on a label and you're commercial and so on and so forth, every single time you decide to use a sample, it's a business decision, you know? So like, you know, is it that, or is it, you know, as sort of what you were just saying, is it this perception from other people like, oh, she's just sampling everything, or she's always using samples?
Yeah, no, it's that.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it's not about it is about the business stuff to some extent, but at the end of the day, I think when music becomes too much about business, it gets a little bit leave it. So essentially what I'm trying to say is, yeah, it is about people thinking of me as just someone that's sampling.
That's interesting, because I mean, at least, you know, in my own opinion, like a lot of the samples that you use and you flip, like that Linkin Park guitar part, you know, from Forgotten, is like, you know, didn't see that coming. And honestly, like, even though I had that record in high school, it didn't dawn on me that that was the sample. And the stuff that you've pulled from so far, I don't know, it seems like it's coming from a variety of places, and I at least respect it. So I don't know.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it definitely is from a weird catalog. It's yeah, but yeah, no, yeah.
And you know, just to sort of like throw a final, you know, thought on that, it is kind of a fun way if it's something that's not obviously draining you monetarily, because you got to give 90% to somebody over a goddamn sample. You know, it is almost like a fun way to leave Easter eggs in your music, and, you know, cool references that people look into, and it's I don't know.
I think so. I think so.
I think it's a cool approach. So as of right now, like, given your catalog so far, again, what you've put out, you know, you've been talking about like trying to maintain, you know, your life as it currently has been, despite things kind of blowing up and revving up. But like, you know, do you see yourself over the next, you know, several months or the next year, like devoting a really huge chunk of, you know, time to just either studio time or touring, you know, to sort of like continue building things up and getting the fans, like, you know, more excited, and just like, I guess continuing to strike while the iron's hot?
Yeah, I think so. I think one thing that hasn't happened yet, I haven't done live shows.
Yeah.
Which I guess is understandable. But as in, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is I haven't seen a lot of people in real life. So I think for me it's important that, yeah, it ends up being a thing to do, especially, I mean, the whole strike while the iron's hot thing, yeah, I think it is important, obviously, while there is buzz. I think as well, studio time is as well. Yeah, it's massive studio time. I think for me as well, next year I kind of want to do some collaborations as well. I think I kind of want to do a few of those. But yeah, definitely doing a few tours, but regional, not necessarily like I'm in LA now.
Yeah, I think like a world tour or something like that.
Imagine.
Yeah.
No, England, and then.
As far as like, you know, a live set might hypothetically be, have you even in your mind started like thinking out what that, you know, might even be, like, when it eventually happens?
Absolutely. I want it to be just me and a DJ.
Right.
And I thought this from the beginning.
Well, like the music video for Just For
exactly,
Me, right?
like, no, you hit it again. Exactly like the music video.
In that same white room, just sell
in the same white room,
sell 50 tickets, very very high priced tickets, to a tiny crowd in a small white room, and just kill it.
Yeah, no, you hit it. You've nailed it. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. And on top of that, they can't smile or look at me the whole time. They have to look down and look depressed, like in the video. But okay. Me and a DJ, that's what I wanted it to be from the beginning, essentially. I was like, live band is a bit much. I think I'd be lying to myself if I thought that would be a smart idea or even look good, just on like the surface. I think, as well as for aesthetic reasons and shite like that, I think it stays a bit more true to what really, I guess, it would have been had this been the time in, I don't know if I'm making sense. It's more true to the genre. It's more true to like I guess, me and what I'm trying to kind of embody. It's more true to British, I guess this whole quintessential British kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's more like, especially for people my age around in London, you're not going to see people my age, my demographic, you're not going to go to like live sets and see a whole band on stage. It's not going to happen. You're going to see your mate with a mic and a DJ, and that's what you're going to see. And the crowd's going to be, it's going to be your mates. It's going to just be loads of fun. So yeah, I think that was what it was always going to be.
No,
I'm happy for it to be. Yeah.
No,
one day maybe we'll have the band. Who knows?
Possibly.
Who knows?
But I mean, you know, as you were saying, no, I think it is true to what you're doing, because, you know, there is even through the tracks, you know, off like the second half of the tape that are more studio, even in those moments, there is like an intimacy to those tracks and a subtlety and a quietness to those tracks that I think was born out of your initial singles that very much feel like they're being born out of that bedroom setting. You know what I mean? And I don't know, I think like after presenting fans with that intimacy on record and then deciding to hit them live with a giant band might, you know, be like a mismatch in terms of a vibe.
1,000%. Yeah. 1,000%. It's not you. Yeah. I think as well as this conversation that we're having now, you can translate that whole concept to absolutely everything. It's like, you've seen me one way doing one thing, not one thing. You've seen you one way so far. Would it make much sense for me to now go on the stage with a whole band? For you to be like, oh, I didn't realize she was on Smoke like this. It's like same. It's like, imagine I was doing a high budget music video, like in some like, I don't know, some Tesla doing fucking like laps around Stratford, White City, London. It makes no sense. Basically, what I'm trying to say. So I think everything has to be kind of a slow, not slow, but like a kind of. You can't just be like a, you know, it has to be like, yeah. Makes sense. It's going like this, not like then go like this.
It could be a funny ironic juxtaposition one day for you to do a video like, you know, hanging out of a jet and just like throwing money. You know what I mean? Just consider it. Think about it.
That could be kind of cool.
Think about it.
Yo, you're on something. You're onto something.
You were just talking about like some, you know, collaborations that you might want to be doing over the next year or so. Are there any in terms of like producers you might want to nab for your stuff or other singers that you might consider, you know, like letting into your space, or, you know, vice versa, people, you know, whose tracks you might want to appear on again over the next year that you might want to manifest right now in this conversation?
I think so. I think K Tronada, I always bring K Tronada up in every interview, because when I was 14, he was, okay, so obviously when I was growing up, I was listening to a fair amount of music that I found for my friends. Mm-hmm. But when someone introduced me to K Tronada, that was when I always put down the musical knowledge or the musical understanding that I gained in my later teens to him, because he was introducing me to some of the sounds, more of the like when I was a teenager, I wasn't trying to hear dance music for some reason. I was trying to hear like, I don't know, I wasn't trying to hear it. So when I found him and it was super palatable to me, I was like, okay, I'm open now to listen to way more of this stuff. So I was listening to more Ampiano, I was listening to more Gold Link, listening to more hip hop in general, especially American hip hop. When before it was like strictly UK rap, it was strictly pop punk, it was strictly emo, it was strictly like everything but this type of music. So yeah, he completely opened my mind up. So it would be lovely to work with him. I think there's loads of, I mean, Caroline Polachek as well. I think Willow Smith. I think there's a lot of people, but producer-wise, K Tronada. There's more producers for sure.
No, what you say about,
I think Mora Master was one of them. Yeah, carry on.
Which was a great crossover, by the way. That was not, you know, a crossover that I saw coming. I've enjoyed his stuff before, and to see you land on that beat and to hear it come out so good was great. But yeah, I mean, you know, given where you are now and potentially in the future, like K Tronada's vibe totally fits your sound, and it's funny what you're saying in terms of like what your musical diet was before all that, because even if you are in a different, you know, space stylistically right now, there is kind of a melancholy that is laced through a lot of those genres that I think translates into, you know, your music at the moment for sure, that might be lingering from some of those styles.
Yeah, 1,000. I mean, exactly. 100%. Correct. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. No, I've got nothing else to add because you hit it. Once again, you hit it. There's definitely some... Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Are you going to continue sort of like, primarily like using TikTok as almost like the mode and, canvas through which you put a lot of this stuff up for people to see? Or do you see yourself, maybe even branching out beyond that a little bit more, because maybe that's too localized?
I think I would love to be able to not dedicate all of my success to one app. Not
Right,
saying
exactly.
anything's wrong with that.
Right.
Definitely, there's nothing wrong with it. But what I'm saying is, you're completely right. It's very localized on that app. Obviously, it's a localization of about, God knows how many people use it, like a billion or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a massive localization, but it's still localized. There's still people that, if you go to someone that isn't necessarily on TikTok all the time and you said, oh, do you like PinkPantheress? They'll be like, who? Like the film? Who?
Right.
So yeah, it's still, as I've been told by, so there's still people to get, no matter, even Rihanna, there's still people she needs to get.
Right.
Don't know who those people are, what they're on, or what they're smoking, but it's crazy that that's the thing. But yeah, even the biggest artists, there's still people to get.
No, it's true. I mean, it's like, I'm on TikTok myself, and I like making content over there, and it's a fun place to be. But I've talked to people who I've been reviewing and talking about music for years. I've met people and talked to people on there who have a platinum song off of TikTok, but I could talk to music fans and they no clue who they are. No industry people I've talked to know who they are, so on and so forth. And in a weird way, it's almost like the world that it exists in is so vast, but being able to break outside of those walls through TikTok is very difficult. I've seen for some people, and in the case of someone like you, kind of a rarity.
100%. And I don't know how it's happened, but I hope I don't sound like I'm throwing any shade at TikTok, because it's the only thing I can really put down to the success I've got now. But no, you're completely right. I think in order to break through from an app like that, you kind of have to wean yourself off slightly, not saying completely, not like jump ship, ghost or anything like that. I'm saying you just kind of have to, okay, you see me on TikTok, but now you're seeing me on Instagram. Okay, you see me on TikTok, now you're seeing me on YouTube. You see me on here, now you see me do a feature with so-and-so. You kind of just have to, it's really, if anyone's watching this and they're musicians, I think that staying on TikTok is great to build a fan base, but there gets to a point where you need to kind of look further to some degree. I mean, if you want, if again, like even me, it's like, sometimes I'm like, I could play it safe, or I could play it the same way I've been playing it since January and just do the exact same thing for another year and see where that gets me. But in reality, it's either going to keep me at the same spot I am now, or it's gonna slow me down just a bit. But again, no shade.
No.
Listen, the amount of time for me has been crazy. So yeah.
No, I think we can, dig a little bit deeper into that and then just leave it there. Considering your success so far and where you landed that, there are a lot of, younger musicians and, up and coming creators who, look to you as an example of like, this could happen to me as long as I, continue creating and plugging away. I mean, beyond what happened to you specifically and, the way in which it happened, is there any sort of advice or, perspective that you could lend to other people, again, in your age range or younger, who are like, producing or writing or singing and want to get their stuff out there, and, any sort of like words of encouragement or advice that you could pass along to help them maybe along in their craft?
Yeah, it would be if you, okay, I think it's find something that works. I think a lot of people kind of, and this is only from experience, there was a point where before TikTok, I was on SoundCloud, and I was literally posting tracks like every single day, no word of lie every day. And I thought that the way, because I first of all, I didn't really understand how SoundCloud works, but in order for me to like get followers and get likes, I'd follow 1,000 people, I'd say like every hour or so, only to get like 20 people following me back.
What?
And then I'd be like, yes. Yeah, listen,
wow.
I'm telling you, you need to find a formula that works. Right. For me, it's just everything TikTok. I think consistency as well. I don't think don't drop one song and expect that to be kind of like, okay, do you know what I mean? I honestly, I had to drop at least 5 songs for them to all go either like mini like pop off to like big pop off. And I'm still, I'm not a hot shot. Like I'm still not some like hot shot that you're seeing like, so it, what I'm saying? It's like consistency is major key, major key, as DJ Khaled said. What else? I'd say, I guess find a niche. I think luckily I found a niche. I think people want to put it down to the beats I'm using. I'd say that plays into it. I also don't think it's fair to say that it's the beats I'm using, because these beats have been around in reality forever and ever and ever. I'm only scraping the surface of what real D&B is. So yeah, I wouldn't put it down to the beats. I put it down to my singing voice. I think a lot of people, it's quite recognizable, so that on TikTok, when people hear a song and they recognize my voice, they're like, oh, it's her again. Wait, maybe I should check out her other songs, because maybe they sound like this. And so that's another way. And then I guess quality, make sure the stuff that you're putting out is good, not just for you, but also palatable to like a wider audience.
All right.
Thank you.
Again, it's been great. Thank you for the conversation, and thank you for just being an open book. And it's been great. Wish you well. And the new tape's sounding good, and we're looking forward to hearing more.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Absolute pleasure to meet you.